Hey guys, so today we're going to go over the Exponent Bulldog practice worksheet. And this is tying all of your Exponent properties together using the multiplication property, the division property, and then the power to the power property. Okay, so we're going to start with number 1. And what I want for you to do is pause this video and try to work out number 1 by yourself, and then come back and restart it to check your answer. Okay, so you should have looked at these and said, okay, I can't distribute any of them, there's nothing to combine, so I'm going to go ahead and put them in columns. Now I have my number column, and then I have my X column. Okay, so I can divide the numbers. 12 divided by 4 would give me 3. And then I am going to subtract the exponents, because when you divide, you're subtracting the exponents. So then you're going to do 2 minus 4, and that's going to give me a negative 2. So I'm going to put x to the negative 2 power. Well, we can't have a negative exponent, so I'm going to put that at the bottom and make it positive. And then 3 should be at the top. So my answer is 3 over x squared. And if you go back to your worksheet, you should see the answer 3 over x squared inside the G. And you would just color the G red because that was your answer. Okay, so now we're going to look at number 2. So I want you to pause the video and try to work out number 2. Okay, so number 2, if you notice, you don't have to distribute anything, but you do have to simplify the top first, and then you have to simplify the bottom. And you have to do all of that before you divide. So when you simplify them, as you can see, you're going to multiply the numbers, and you're going to add these exponents. So you're going to multiply the numbers, and that will give you 60 on top. And then you'd have x to the 5th power. And that would be simplified on top. And then on the bottom, we're going to simplify that, and you'd have 30, and you'd have x to the 4th power. The reason that you'd have the 4th power is because you have an imaginary 1 right there that we can't forget about. So now I can go ahead and divide. So I'm going to put them in columns, and I'm going to divide the numbers. So 60 divided by 30 is going to give me 2, and I'm going to subtract the exponents. So 5 minus 4 is going to give me x to the 1st power, but I only have to write x. So your answer is 2x. So if you go back, you look for the 2x, your 2x's should be where the eyeballs are, and you would color those blue. Okay, next, number 3. So you're going to want to look at this, try it on your own, make sure that you simplify the top and distribute first, and you're going to do that before you divide. So pause the video and try the problem. Okay, so we're going to start by distributing this exponent at the bottom. And we're going to distribute it to the 2. So we're going to do 2 times 2. And that's going to be x to the 4th. So we're distributing those. But we're also going to distribute it to the 3, because those are 2 separate things. The 3 and the x are 2 separate. So we're going to do 3 to the 2nd power, and that's going to be on the bottom. Then for the top, you're going to have 7 times 2, which is 14, and that's x to the 2nd power. So now I'm just going to rewrite this over here. 14x to the 2nd power over 3 squared, that's 9, and x to the 4th power on the bottom. So now you can divide these. And we can't divide 14 divided by 9, and we can't reduce it, so we're just going to leave it. But we can subtract the exponent. So 2 minus 4 is going to give us a negative 2. And we're going to put that initially on top. So 14 to the negative second power. And then you have the 9 on the bottom. Well, we know we can't have a negative exponent, so what we're going to do is we're going to put that to the bottom. So our final answer is going to be 14 and then 9 x squared. Okay, next we're going to do number 4. So go ahead and pause the video and start working on number 4. Okay, number 4 is a little bit simpler. You're just going to multiply the number. So you're going to get 6. And then you're going to add the exponent. So x, you take those two and you do negative 2 plus 7. And that gives you 5. So your answer is 6x to the 5th power, because there's no other way to simplify it. Okay, moving on to number 5. So number 5 you're going to work on, and you're going to pause the video, but you need to make sure you put the 1 above the y, because everything that doesn't have a exponent is just an exponent of 1. Okay, so pause the video. Okay, so for your answer, you would multiply the two together, so you'd have 18. And then your x's you can combine, so you're going to add those exponents. So then you'd have negative 4 plus negative 1, which would be negative 5. So you put x to the negative 5th power. And then your y's you'd combine, so that's 3 plus 1, that's going to give us 4. So we have y to the 4th power. We have a negative exponent, so we have to move that. So we're going to move this one to the bottom. But we can keep 18 and y to the 4th on top. So we're going to put this as our answer on the bottom. And then 18 y to the 4th can stay on top. And so you're going to color wherever this answer is located in the picture, you're going to color it purple. Okay, next for number 6. Make sure before you start this problem that for number 6, anytime that you don't have an exponent somewhere, it's going to be an exponent of 1. So you have to put a 1 above all those. And then you have to make sure that you distribute this negative 3 to the 2 and to the 3. Okay, so pause the video and work out number 6. Okay, with number 6, I'm going to kind of do this off to the side. So I'm going to distribute this negative 3 to the 3. So I have 3 to the negative 3rd power. And then I have x to the negative 6th power. And then I have y to the 1st power. And then underneath that, I have x to the 1st power, x to the 1st power, and y to the 1st power. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to put them in columns, because I can divide. So I'd have negative 6 minus 1, which would be negative 7. And then I would have, would have 1 minus 1, which would be 0. And I'm going to put everything on top first. So I'm going to have 3 to the negative 3rd, and then I'm going to have x to the negative 7th, and then y to the 0. Since it's y to the 0, anything to the 0 power you can just cancel out, because that's going to be 1. And then all of these negatives, I'm going to move to the bottom, including the 3, because the 3 is at the bottom. and it's negative. So I'm going to write 1 over 3 to the third power, x to the positive 7th power. And 3 to the third power is going to give me 27. So my answer is going to be 1 over 27 x to the 7th power. And wherever that is going to be colored black. Okay, next we're going to work on number 7. And you need to make sure that you distribute that 2 to the 0 and to the 6. Okay, so go ahead and work out number 7 and pause the video. Okay, with number 7, you're going to distribute that 2, so you have 6 squared, and then x to the 0 power, because 0 times 2 is just 0, and that's over 2. And we can cancel out, or just cross out that x to the 0 power, because it just equals 1. And then we have 6 squared, which is 36, divided by 2. Remember that equals, of course, 36 divided by 2 equals 18. Which we rarely get whole numbers for our answers. So wherever the 18 is, you're going to color that brown. Okay, number 8. Go ahead and pause the video and work out number 8. Alright, number 8, you're going to distribute this 2 to all of these, including the number. So 4 to the 2nd power, x to the 4th power, y to the 6th power, times 2x y to the 2nd power. So we know that 4 squared is just 16, so put 16. And then everything that's alike, since we're multiplying, we can multiply the numbers, and then everything that's alike, like the x's are alike, so we can add those exponents together, and there's an imaginary 1 right there, and then add them together for the y's. So when we multiply these together, we should get 32 for the number. And then when you add 4 plus 1, of course, is 5. So you have x to the 5th power. And then 6 plus negative 2 is going to give you a 4. So then you have y to the 4th power. Okay, and then that's your answer for number 8. Okay, so for number 9, remember that you're going to want to put an exponent of 1 over anything that does not have an exponent. Okay, so put exponent of 1. And then remember, we have to simplify the top, then simplify the bottom, then divide. So go ahead and pause the video and start working out number 9. Okay, so we can go ahead and simplify the top. 3 times 4 is going to give you a 12. And then I can combine these x's, and when I multiply, I'm going to add them, so I have x to the 8th power, and then y to the 2nd power, over 38, x to the 9th power, and y to the 2nd power. So now I have my division set up, and I can divide out these numbers. Well, you can't really divide them, so you're going to have to reduce them, and then you can subtract the exponents. And you need to make sure that you write these out so that you can understand that 8 minus 9 is negative 1, and then 2 minus negative 2 is actually a positive, because when you subtract a negative, you're going to change the sign, so that's a 4. Okay, so when I reduce this, I'm going to reduce this 12 over 8. When you reduce that, you can divide both of those by 2, and that's going to give you 6 over 19. And then you have x, because we subtracted that, and so we get negative 1. And then we have y to the 4th. Well, this has to go to the bottom because it's negative. So our final answer is going to be 6 y to the 4th, can stay on top. And then 19 and just x. So we had to move it to the bottom. And all of these are positive exponents, so you know that you're finished. All right, so now we're going to work on number 10 and make sure that you distribute that negative 1 inside the parentheses, and then you're going to put a 1 above anything that doesn't have an exponent. Okay, so pause the video and work on number 10. Okay, so when we work this out, we're going to distribute the negative 1 to each of these. So we're going to end up with, and I'm going to write it up here, so I have more room. So negative 7x squared, y to the 7th, and then times 2 to the negative 1st power, x to the negative 5th power, and y to the negative 1st power, all over 3x to the 1st power, y to the 1st power. And those little ones are important because when you subtract, if you think those are zeros or you forget about them, you're not going to get the right exponent. Okay, so my next step is going to be to multiply. Well, I'm not going to multiply the numbers because I know that this 2 is going to have to eventually go to the bottom because it has an exponent of negative 1. So this 2 is actually going to go down here and become positive. So I'm actually going to multiply the 2 times the 3 on the bottom. And that's because it has a negative exponent. So now I'm just going to leave the 7 on top. So negative 7. And then I'm going to put negative 7. And then I'm going to add these exponents. So 2 plus negative 5 is going to give me a negative 3. So I do x to the negative 3rd power. And then y, I have 7 plus negative 1, which gives me a 6. And then on the bottom, for my denominator, I have 2 times 3, so that's a 6. And then x to the 1st power, y to the 1st power. Okay, now I can line these up in columns. I can't do anything with the numbers because I can't reduce it and I can't divide it. So I'm going to subtract the exponents. So when I subtract the exponents, I'm going to write that out. So negative 3 minus 1 is going to give me a negative 4. So it'd be x to the negative 4th power. So I'll have negative 7, the 6, and then x to the negative 4th. And then I'll have 6 minus negative 1, oh, I'm sorry, positive 1. So 6 minus 1, which is 7. So I'll have y to the 7th power. And remember, everything goes on top first. Now I can move the negative 4, because that's a negative exponent, to the bottom. Okay, so your final answer would be negative 7. And then you'd have y to the 7th. And then you'd have 6 x to the positive 4. And I actually just catch this, that 6 minus 1 is 5, not 7. Sorry guys. So change that to a 5. That was a really silly mistake. So this is a 5, so your answer is negative 7y to the 5th over 6x to the 4th. And that was your Bulldog practice worksheet. So make sure that you study your foldable and study your exponent properties And good luck tomorrow on the quiz.